Hello everybody, well, Happy New Year. First craft video of 2021, and I must say it's a lovely sunny day outside, so better than yesterday when we kept having little snow flurries most of the day. Right, today we are going to make this lovely windmill card with the illusion stamping on the bottom. For Christmas you will all have received your beautiful stamp. Now, I should point out that I couldn't tell you about this before, else it would have spoilt your Christmas surprise. But this is the one that we're going to use, and we'll probably use some of the items on here a lot more often because it's a lovely stamp for a man's card. Let's pop that to a side. You'll all have received your kits, and in it you'll have a silicone sheet. This is important. Maybe yours won't be green, it may be blue, it may be pink, it may be yellow or orange. It just depends on which one you had in. I'm going to show you two different ways of using this because not everybody will have a stamping platform. So the first version I'm going to do will be on a stamping platform. I'll turn my camera down and we'll get started. In your kit, you will have a sheet of cream card. What you need to do on this card is mark down either side 10.4 and put a little pencil mark on both sides. This is very important. So I'm going to show you first of all how we're going to use it with the stamping platform. You need to put your silicone sheet down, and it needs to be the shiny side down, matte side up. That is important. And I'll just take that off. When you put your card on, what this will mark up, you'll need to match it up to 10.4 on the little ruler down the side. You'll see why in a moment. So first of all, we're going to stamp the top one, which is the main image. So I'm using a VersaFine because I'm going to be using watercolour pencils. If you're planning to use alcohol inks or anything else like that, probably use either Memento, Archival, or one of the hybrid inks, and I recommend in black. So we'll go ahead and we'll stamp our stamp up and bring it over and press it down. Give it a really good press. And I just think it's missed a little bit there, so I'm just going to ink it again, just down the middle, and give it a good press down. Now I'm taking this off. What you need to do is you need to make sure that when you turn it over, your little pencil marks are actually transferred over to the other side. So I'm just going to mark mine up again. I don't want to mark it up too much, but it will mark at 10.4. So I've just put my little pencil mark there. This is important. So you've taken this off. You want to make sure that you turn it away from you upside down. This is the important part about it. So what I'm going to do now, I am going to stamp onto my silicone mat. So I shall ink my stamp again. And I've just got ink all over my fingers. So I will just get a baby wipe and wipe it off, else I'll be smudging everything. Sorry about that. That's got it. And now stamp, press. I tend to stamp standing up, but it's entirely up to you which way you do it. And I'm going to just stamp that again, ink that again. And again, now then, what we need to do now is, I'll just move my magnet over. As I said, we've got this upside down now. Again, with the little mark, which I put on the wrong side, so I'm just going to move it round. Where's my pencil gone? There. So I'm just going to mark that on the other side. That's it. So on this here, so I'm marking, taking my mark, put your card back in so it's lifted up off the ink. Put it to 10.4, hold it firmly on the edge, and then give it a really good press down all over where you inked onto your silicone mat. And there you have your shadow print. It is so easy to do. I'm going to then just clean my mat and my pad and my stamp, and then I'm going to show you how to do this if you haven't got a stamping platform. So if you just bear with me for a couple of minutes while I just clean this over, else there'll be ink everywhere, because I need to use one of my bigger stamping blocks for this. So just bear with me one moment. The only disadvantage on doing it this way is you cannot double stamp. So do make sure that you have inked your stamp really, really well. So what I'm going to do now, I'll move my platform out of the way. I recommend that you get a ruler and you tape your ruler to your craft mat. Make sure that it doesn't move. Line it up well, and then we're going to now put our silicone mat right up to it, and again take this down. This is only if you don't have a stamping platform. And what you need to decide now is, oops, just let me, what I will do is, you mark these on both sides, I should have told you, which I've completely forgot to tell you. Mark both sides of your card at 10.4, because you will have to turn your card over. And again, these will rub out afterwards, so no problem. So what you need to do is, I'm going to set mine at 15 on my ruler, because that's actually, hang on, let me see, which is going to be about half. No, 14.5 I think on my ruler is about halfway on both of these. So, oh, excuse me, I am now going to ink my stamp and give it a really good ink, and you'll maybe need to just, I would probably, just to be on the safe side, just tape the top of your card, just so that it doesn't move. So what you're doing now is you are thoroughly inking your stamp up, bearing in mind where your dot is there. Line your stamp up, press firmly down all over, and sorry if I'm shaking the camera, and then lift straight off. And as you can see, that is stamped beautifully. So I'm now going to take my card, pop that to a side a moment, bearing in mind we used 14.5 on the ruler as the guide mark. So now again, ink up well, and using your 14.5 as your guideline, stamp straight onto, onto your silicone mat that I just slipped then. This is one thing you will have to be careful about. Try not to move your stamp because it does tend to slide on the silicone. So make sure that when you drop it down, it stays firm. So again, 14.5, straight down, press, lift, then take your card and as before, turn it over, find your 14.5, again tilt it away, line your dot up, press it down, and give it a good rub, and there you have your illusion. So that is the two ways in which you can stamp with or without a stamping platform. But anybody that hasn't a stamping platform, I do recommend that you get one. You'll find them so much easier to stamp with. I wasn't a stamper until I got mine, and now I love it. And this just washes off with either a baby wipe or soapy water, so you can use it over and over again. So any of your other stamps you can do exactly the same technique with. Just get rid of my bits of tape. So make sure you keep this, maybe pop it into just a plastic bag just to keep it nice and clean. Put that over there, get rid of all my little bits and pieces, and then we'll get on to the colouring. As I said, I am using watercolour pencils. It's entirely up to you which you want to use. It's maybe handy to have just a little spritzer bottle. So I'm just going to bring up my media mat and then I can get started on painting. So that was the illusion part, so make sure you've got it the right way round. And have a look and find which is my ones that I want to use. So I've got some nice fine pencils. Move those out of the way. So you can decide what your colour scheme is. That was my colour scheme. I'll maybe vary it a little bit this time, but it's entirely up to you how you colour these. So I'm going to start with a nice, let me see, a nice pale browny colour, just for the wood. I mean, any of you that has been watching Ali's videos, you may like to try doing it with pencils and use her shading technique because that is another good piece of practice for you. So I'm just going to do this. So we've just got a light coat that just resembles wood. And again, just, I think I'm running out of water in this. It doesn't seem to be very wet, but I'll maybe go on to another one. Go on to another one, I think, and see if that's any better. Sorry about that, my granddaughter's just brought a parcel in for me. So let me see which is my little... I'm looking for, that's it, isn't it? Yes. Right, so let's see how we're going. This is better. So we just want some little bits just in between the spokes, and we can put some darker bits so we get some shading in. So the light may be coming from one particular side, so we could So if the light's coming from the right hand side, the left hand side wants to be a little bit darker and faded across, so it looks as if it's more in shadow. And so again, we need to do this just lightly on the lower bit. And as this dries, we'll then run the water illusion over the top. How are you all finding the new lockdown? Are you going to find plenty of crafting to keep you going? I know I've got a lot on. We've got some very exciting new products coming from the Card Hut that I'm working on now, so you'll be able to look out for those in the coming months, and I'll be doing videos on those as well, so it'll be something to look forward to. Just fill them bits in. Okay, just a little bit of darkness down that side, and then we'll go on to let me see, I think a nice green. Let's have some green on this one, I think, on the paintwork. Wrong shade of green, sorry. Into the brighter green. If you don't like working with water brushes, just colour them in as they go, straight from your pencils. There's no hard and fast rule on this. This is just the way I've been interpreting it. But if you are using pencils, just make sure that they stay very sharp, because they are, they do give a far better colour. So by doing that, you've just got some colour in there. This will be just a slightly paler at the bottom, as obviously this is a shadow. It is not showing up quite as strong. But so we can just move these across. Just so I've got the lovely little fence as well. So there's all the little fence posts to colour in. And the little fence posts are a lot easier if you do just use a sharpened pencil. It does get into the little areas a lot better. And as I say, if you're using the alcohol pens, just really let your imagination work with you, because there's some lovely things that you can do on this. Fill these all in nicely. Again, keep it really well sharpened. Nice sharp point. Run this just round the top. And let's do the pediment on the top of the window. That just looks nice. Again, just run them down. I'm going to do, I think, just down the edge of the sails on this one and the spoke. Just give it a slightly different style and colour to the other one that I did. I want another line, I think, on here. This will all come to life when we start adding the ground and the sky, it'll then all blend in beautifully. Right, I think what I can do on here is and actually go around the window as the paintwork. But I'm going to paint the door a different colour. I think I'm going to do that a really bright blue. And just so it makes it stand out a bit. I can go back and add some shading into there where it'll be in shadow as it dries. So I'm going to do the door on the house as well in the blue and in the shadow. So now I just want to go to maybe a little shade darker of the blue. Not a lot, but just bring it in just under the eaves, the overhang, that it's showing a bit of shadow there. And again from this side, just putting a bit of shadow in. For the windows, I'm going to use a really nice yellow. I'm just going to actually draw these in because they are small and it's a lot easier to actually get into the smaller areas just with a dry pencil. Got that in there. Now for the house, I want to do a nice sort of light terracotta, I think you would call it. Again, to resemble the bricks. Again, bearing in mind that your light is coming from the right on this, you choose which way you want. So anything that is on from the left, you'll always have a little bit of shadow. So this side, because it's facing more into the light, is going to be a lot lighter. And I say the darker area is that at the side. So again, getting lighter as we come across to this side. And if it seems a bit dark, just wipe your brush off and take it out. So we now need to go for maybe a nice darkish brown for the roof. So do this nice dark brown, so it's got a real peaty roof. Again, just blend it over. I'm just going to just add a little bit of darkness in there, straight from the pencil. Oops. Down below, I think I'm going to do, let me see, what colour can we do on there? A nice, shall we do a nice pale terracotta down there? Something that's a bit brighter. If you're in doubt as to colour, just have a piece of card and just see if it's going to be too light. I think that's going to be too light, so let me try. See how that goes if I draw it in. Oh, that might be okay. And again, we can go back and fill in some shadows once this has dried off a little bit, because there will be shadows from the overhang on this and also from where the light is coming from. Just come round, and again, don't forget the illusion from the bottom. Plenty on your brush and just start and bring in. So this side will be darker. And of course your overhang again will create a shadow. Again, down onto the illusion bit, the bottom. So now we've got to that point, we need to put a nice bright blue. I think the same colour blue we used for the door, we'll do for the cap of the head of the windmill. And they're nice and bright. If you're unsure about what colours to do, quite a lot of nice pictures of windmills on the internet that you can actually pick up some ideas of colour schemes for. Again, just do the illusion bit. This doesn't have to be too accurate, because obviously this is showing reflection underwater. So we've done that. I'm going to just add a little bit of highlights, again just a little bit of the dark, again just a bit at this side. So we're now going to go on to the trees, and we can use a really nice green, I think, for those. You can tell I've used this a lot. It needs sharpening. And we can add more green as we go along to pick up highlights of the trees. And what I'm going to do at this stage, I'm going to do a light wash just below here for the ground. Just fade it out to the edge. Just keep working on it, bring it over to the edge, run it off your card. We'll put the steps in a moment. So we've done that colour, we're just going to let that dry for a moment. And you can, if you wish, you could actually use a heat gun to just dry this off. But I think by the time we've got onto some of the other little bits and pieces, we should be okay. I'm going to run grey for the path and for the steps. Both ways. Again, just bring in a bit darker for the top than you would from the bottom. I think that's about all for the grey. So we need to then go on to some darker green. to bring out some of the highlights in the bushes and in the grass. Don't need to put a lot in, just some odd little dabs. And I'm just going to sort of run some little bits up as if there's something growing. You don't have to, it just gives it the impression that something just growing along the edge. Again, just run it across just a bit as if got some little bits. Down the sides of the path. And what our plant is just gives it a rough line across the middle. It just gives it what I call a break line. Doesn't have to be heavy. Just a bit like that. It just gives the impression of where the water runs up to the bank. And then I'm going to use a really nice bright green just to add some little bits just into the trees and the bushes. Now I'm going to pop this to a side just for the moment to let that dry off before I go on any further doing the sky and the lake, because if it isn't dry you'll maybe tend to smudge it. I'll get my teeth in the right way around. So I'm just going to put this to a side and then we'll start and pop the card together. So you'll have 2 pieces of white card like this. So what you need to do is take one, they're both the same size. Take your scoring board and we are just going to score approximately 2 centimetres. And again, score 3 times, you'll find that it folds easier and your card will not crack. So I have a tendency to just do it once, twice first. And then I'm going to run some tape down. I usually run mine close to the score line. Everybody has a different method, and they need cleaning again by the feel of them. And I also run a tiny wee bit of glue on as well. I must admit, I'm not always comfortable just relying on the double-sided tape. So again, just a few odd dabs on there and just a thin line just down the edge of the card. Taking your other card and making sure that the glued edge is to the top, match them up at the bottom, bring them up and knit them together along the top. So that then will give you your opening card. Fold it that way and then fold it back and you'll find that it will hold extremely well. Making sure that your join is on the back. We are now going to mat and layer. Now this again is personal preference. I always mat and layer with glue. If you're one that favours double-sided tape, that is perfectly all right. But I like to use glue on mine, just a thin edge all the way around. Doesn't need to be a lot. And then I just do some squiggles in the middle. So you want to balance. Another tip as well, if you're not certain of what the border's going to be, turn it over first and just see how much allowance there is before you pop it on. So pop that up there. And oops. And then give it a really good press all the way around in the middle. Make sure that it's stuck. I have not given you a sentiment, but I have put in the kit some spare cream card and some spare green card for you to actually make up a sentiment when you know who you're wanting to send it to. So we've got to that point, so we can pop that to a side now. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start first of all on the bottom where the, on the top where the sky is. And this I use quite a wide water brush. Just trying to see which one's got water, which is my wide one. Is it that one? That's it, that's the one, I think, yes. What I have a tendency to do is I just go over and run just water on it first on your card. You'll find then that when you start to add your colour, it'll blend in a lot easier. So I'm going to use a nice pale blue. It's a lovely sunny day. So again, starting from the top, just work down. It doesn't want to be heavy. You can always add to where you can't take away. Well, you can take away, but it tends to make your card very wet and smudgy and very, very floppy. It becomes waterlogged. And again, it doesn't matter if you've got a few gaps because that's where the sky is. You don't have blue all the way across the sky, or we very rarely see it, should I say. So you get a nice impression by leaving gaps. You may have some areas that are a bit darker, like you do in an ordinary sky. Just run your blue. Until you're happy with your colour in your sky. So I'm quite happy. It's a nice sunny day. So if you can see, it's just a nice pale blue sky. You don't need a lot. So then we're going to work down. And I'm actually going on a slightly, I'm going to put first of all a grey down. Because water always tends to have a look. I think that's the wrong grey. It's grey, I think. By putting a grey down, it'll mute the blue. It doesn't look a lot at the moment, but you'd be surprised. Once you start adding the blue on it, it will look a lot more muted. Especially down this bottom end, it needs to be a little bit darker. And again, it doesn't matter if it's blotchy, because when the sun shines on water, there is all different areas of colour you'll pick up all sorts of colours. You'll pick up the blues, you'll pick up the greys from clouds. Just doing this over. And then go over and do some blue. Brush doesn't want to be letting water out very well today. That's better. And if you've got water on it, it has a tendency it makes the colour run a bit more, so it looks a little bit more natural. Again, just run it across out towards the edge of your card. And by making sort of a swirly motion as the lines, it does give it the impression of water as well. It's going to pop a little bit of a darker blue maybe over that. Just in places, so we get just variation of colour. And just take it up round your trees. And also going to just add a bit of the darker blue to the topmost of the right side of the card. Whoops, it's not wanting to run, isn't this today? Just and we are about there, I think, on that. Oops. I'm just going to leave that a moment to just dry off. But that then, as you can see now, we've got the two variations in colour. So you could put your stamp, probably, if I actually have a small piece of card here, and use the, I'm going to use that, I might just have to rub the pencil marks off that. But while that's drying, I'm going to use, wherever I put it, one of the texts of the that came with the stamp, and pop that on. Let me have a look and see which one we can use. We've got Happy Travels, Enjoy Your... I think I might use Enjoy Your Retirement. That it's sort of a card I think that would lend itself to a retirement. I'll pop that on to a stamping block. Make sure that it does fit. Yes, it will fit. That's fine. And just ink it again in the black ink. Pop that right down to the bottom, I think, and then I can line my ink block, my stamping block. There we are. So I've got that there. Put that to a side, and I have some bits of green card here, which I'll probably trim this down a little bit because it is a little bit on the large side, so I can soon trim this down and run that straight across and that way. Just edge this down a little bit. Get rid of those little bits, you don't need them. And I'll pop this onto some green. And that can be drying. Oh, not very straight at cutting on that. Just leave that to just dry. And I'm going to now actually put this onto my card. Again, not a lot of glue. Just a little bit so that your card doesn't warp. It's on the back. Make sure I've got my card the right way around. And again, nice even border all the way. And if you're worried about smudging, whoops, turn your card over and give it a really good rub from the other side. So we've got that, and then we can cut our sentiment. And just put a nice narrow border of green round. And we can pop that wherever we feel it's appropriate. So we could pop it at the bottom on there, or we could pop it at the top. Maybe a smaller one. Actually, I'm going to change it and stamp the smaller one because I think that's just a little bit too big on that. So I'm going to put Happy Travels, I think, and do that one. I think that one might be better. Lost my bit of card. Where is it? I think I'll do this. It's a shame to put it over the image, so I'll do it this way. And again, bring it right down into there, pressed firmly down. That's come off nice. Bring my bit of green back. Again, trim this down, see if I can manage to cut this a bit straighter this time. Looks a bit better. And we'll stick it onto some green, and then we'll about have a finished card. Pop that down. can trim this bit off and pop that on. We can use a foam pad, or we can just put it flat, whichever you feel you would like to do. Oops, that's not very straight either. That's better. Just pop a foam pad on. And again, I'll just add a little bit of glue to the back of here. Whoa. To wipe that off before it gets stuck on everything. And so we can then put happy travels, happy travels, happy travels, happy travels. And kind of pop it just down at the bottom. So that is the card we've made today. That was the one I made, which was a darker, more stormy day. And so I hope, yes, let's have some birds. Shall we have some birds in the sky? I should have another little stamp block. So let's have a look and see. We'll have some little birds in the sky, I think. So let's see, where should we have them? We'll have them there and there as a shadow, because obviously they'll not be as dark. So there we are. So there's our two cards. So I hope you enjoy making this card, and I'm sure you'll find it very useful when you're wanting some men's cards. I will see you next time. One little point, I am going, as I've said, I'm swapping the artisan stamps from the 20th of January through to the 17th of March. Because I need to get 3 samples done, but I also need to mount all the stamps before they come out to you. And that's going to take a little bit of a while. I only got the stamps the day before yesterday. So I'm going to start off with the boxes for the Advent boxes, and so you will all get pack of 4 ready to make up boxes. So this will start you off, and then on each kit you will get another 2 boxes right through the year, and then in November we'll put them together either as a star, a Christmas tree, or as bunting, whichever you decide to do. Right. So hope you enjoyed, everybody, and see you next time on the 20th of January. Bye.